Who would have thought that you guys would be sticking around for 30 episodes with us? Statistically, I hear people stop podcasting after episode 7. So we're here. You're never getting rid of us. We will yap until we are old and gray. But this episode is on how to fix your metabolism after a fat loss phase. One of our most popular episodes has been on reverse dieting. So we thought this would be a good episode to kind of like chat about that a little bit, but more so after a deficit instead of like before a fat loss phase.
Okay, you finally reached the end of your fat loss phase. Now what do? Do we keep dieting? Do we jump back to maintenance? Do we reverse diet? Do we still do cardio? Today, we're going to walk you through exactly how we transition clients after a successful fat loss phase to make sure that they maintain their progress that they made and get to, future goals from here.
Yeah.
So,
So once a client finishes a deficit, we finish a deficit. If you finish a deficit, whoever it is, there are a few things that you probably want to consider. So number one is like, have you reached your goal? I think that is really important is like, okay, maybe you had a number on the scale goal, maybe, a body composition goal. Like, have we got to that point? Because that might dictate how long you reverse. If you reverse, do you do a diet break? Do you do a refeed? All of those things. So that's maybe one thing to consider. Another thing is, how is biofeedback? Do we have energy? Is your sleep being impacted? Are we so ravenous and hungry? We're not recovering in the gym. So just looking at biofeedback and making sure that we still feel good. Are we even able to make another drop to food in the deficit? Or is your body telling you, hey, it's probably time to get out of here? And how long have you been dieting? I think this is something that you want to take with a grain of salt because the internet might tell you like, oh my gosh, you should not cut, for longer than 12 weeks. I think this is the biggest misconception when someone asks like, how long are we going to be cutting? If I say like, I don't know, 16 weeks minimum or something, they're like, gasp.
yeah,
It's like,
they're like,
seems so long.
not just 8 weeks or 6 weeks. I'm like, no.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you've been dieting for a long period of time, again, take it with a grain of salt. I've had clients that have cut for 16 weeks all the way up to like 9 months. So it just depends on your biofeedback and the things that we talked about above. And then biggest thing is adherence. Like, have you actually been adherent during the deficit, or have we been cutting for 6 months, but realistically we've only been cutting for 3 because every other weekend, like we're, struggling to stay on track.
Yeah. So let's say Drew hit our goal that we had in mind. So let's say we had, a scale number in mind. We hit that goal and we're just really happy with it. We're ready to just be done with the deficit. We're kind of like getting that diet fatigue. What would you recommend that we do, from there?
I would say majority of people, we're taking you through a reverse diet, and that can look very different, right? For some people, that might be increasing food. For some people, that might be lowering your cardio or your step count. And for some people, that might be doing both. But majority of the time, we are wanting to start slowly reversing your intake up. So when we say a reverse diet, if you don't even know what we're talking about, this could be a good opportunity for you to go back to our reverse dieting episode. But the title of this podcast, something about your metabolism, like when we diet, we downregulate your metabolism. So we want to slowly get metabolic health in a better spot. And how we do that is through reverse diet. So slowly bringing your food up or slowly taking stress off your body, which could be just, slowing down on the cardio, lowering the cardio.
Yeah. And I think depending on like where you want to go with the reverse diet too, we also want to ask ourselves, what is the goal after your deficit? So after your deficit, do you just want to maintain for a little bit? Do you want to, enjoy more food flexibility, like get your food up high enough and like intuitively eat? Do you want to go into a build? Like, do you want to just improve overall like gym performance, improve biofeedback? Like, what is your goal there? Because that's also going to depend like how far, we reverse you and how much we push you there. And also like, if we keep cardio in, if we don't keep cardio in. So going through that reverse diet, not everybody has to do this. I honestly really like reversing my clients out of a deficit just so we don't like overshoot that maintenance because your maintenance is changing, right? So like Drew said, at the end of your deficit, your metabolism is downregulated. So your maintenance at that point is not the same maintenance that you started your deficit at. It's going to be a little bit lower for a little bit of time, until our body gets used to being outside of a deficit. We realize like, okay, we can actually like spend a little bit more energy talking with our hands, like moving, doing all of these things. So we don't want to overshoot that maintenance because we can estimate it, right? There's a lot of people who are out there using calculators. That's not going to tell us, like, that's not going to help us because it doesn't know what your dieting history is, right? So my favorite way is to reverse coming out of a deficit. I do give a little bit bigger of an increase that first, increase coming out of our deficit, depending on, like what your intake is at, how your body typically responds to a reverse, some other factors, but like that's where my brain is going right now. Anywhere is from like a 10 to 15% increase. That first increase is usually where I hold my clients at. And then future increases from there, you kind of go into like that general rule of thumb, which is like 50 to 100 calories, somewhere's around there for your increases. But again, remembering like this is just a general rule. Just because it's been 2 weeks does not mean that you need to give a 100-calorie increase. If it's been 2 weeks and your weight is still kind of up a little bit, give it some more time. We also, might need to back off a little bit. I think might be getting a little bit ahead of myself, but one of the biggest mistakes is pushing a reverse too far. So just like make adjustments and then assess what the body does
Yeah.
and how it
And
feels.
I think too, like Alina said, everyone's going to be so different. And that's what I love about our job. It's so interesting that the human body like responds differently every person. So like, I've been working with clients for 3 years and I know like she responds so well to a refeed really deep into a deficit, which, we could, do an episode on refeeds, but it's like, I'm strategically giving her more food and then we bring her back down into a deficit and continue out. So like, some people will respond really well and I know, okay, I can give her like 120 extra grams of carbs over the span of 2 days and she's going to lose weight versus if I did that to someone else, I know that they don't really respond well in a refeed and we don't really actually use them. We just like reverse out of the deficit. And so I think that that's important to know is that it does take time to understand your body. And so having someone else take that over is kind of nice. But also too is like when we are deep in a deficit, usually your cardio is higher, and usually your food is low. And so I think too, just understanding that this is individualized per person. So like some people like cardio can be like really stressful in their body, especially if they like don't have time in their day to get it in. And so then they're like even stressed about finding the time to get the cardio in and they're in the gym longer. So even pulling that out first can be helpful for people because then they don't have to, worry about that cardio. So maybe it's like dwindling down cardio and slowly bringing up food instead of like a bigger increase to food. So I think there's like lots of ways to do it. And I know that that's kind of an annoying answer because you guys probably are just like, okay, tell us what we need to do. But it really does depend on the individual. But to give you guys cookie cutter, like Alina said, likely increasing food, lowering cardio at some point, and anywhere from like 50 to 100 calories ish as you increase throughout the reverse.
Yeah. And I think like getting into just paying attention to your body. Like don't just follow these rules because you're like, "Ah, these are like the general rules." We're saying that because like this is a um these are blanket statements that we're putting on. Like I might have some like a client who I don't increase her food for 4 weeks, because she's not consistent or her body weight hasn't like settled or et cetera, et cetera. So making sure that you're not just like doing it because you're like, oh, it's been 2 weeks, like let me do this.
Yes.
Make sure you're doing it for a reason and make sure you know that reason. And I know this is like, you guys are probably like, shut the hell up about coaching, but like going through at least one of like every phase with a coach is so helpful because then you can be like,
Yes.
okay, I recognize like why she did this and you can take that into the future versus listening to a podcast that's, talking about a bunch of people. Yes, we're giving you information, but might not be, specific for you, right? Because every
Yeah.
client, every person is different.
And like that's such a good point because I had a client, she signed for 6 months and she has seen the most insane amount of progress in 6 months. But after that, she was like, she doesn't want to continue. But then she said, she's like, if I'm being honest with you, like I've only gone through a deficit with you. Like I haven't even been able to reverse out. And if I could say the most important part in someone's journey is the post diet reverse because losing weight is so fucking easy. Anyone could lose weight today. It's literally actually so simple. If you're struggling with it, reach out to us because it's very, very easy. But maintaining it or sustaining it, that is the hard part. And so you want to have someone or be very educated yourself to make sure that you do reverse out so you can at least maintain majority of the results that you received in a deficit to work your ass off and to do all the cardio and eat low food and then just to gain it all back. That's not fun for anyone. So like the reverse post diet, most important.
Yeah, I say that all the time because also if you think about like where your motivation is at, like you can be the most educated person, but if you don't have that accountability and that reverse, post diet, it's going to be really hard because think about when we're in a deficit, we kind of get like these like endorphin releases. Is that what you would say like when you hit a when you like hit a new low, you're like, oh my gosh, like I'm so excited. Like I, got to hit a new low. I am like motivated. I'm gonna, hit my food today. I'm excited to step on the scale. Like I'm seeing new lines, etc. And when we're in that reverse afterwards, weight is ideally, maintaining. It might come up a little bit just from like holding on to a little bit more water. You have more food in your system. Your muscle glycogen is being replenished. Like thinking about all of those things, your weight might come up a little bit. And you're like, ooh, actually, like that's a little scary because I've been focusing so long on the scale coming down. Where when you're in that state of mind, sometimes you might be like, it doesn't really matter. Like I'm increasing my food anyway. I can just keep going. When it's not like that, like it needs to be strategic. And I think even being educated, sometimes you need that extra layer of accountability, especially when like you're kind of in like this lull state where you're like, okay, I'm not super excited about this anymore. Like it's
Yeah.
exciting when you're in a deficit and you're seeing new lows and you're seeing like a new physique on your body. But like when you're in that reverse, you need extra, I think, like motivation.
Like the most important thing is like if we want to get metabolic health in a good spot post diet, we need to reverse. Actually, let's go on a tangent right now. Drew's taking a left turn. We got time. Another part of this, right? We have said when you diet, you are literally, your metabolism is down regulating. So, what are we doing in reverse? We're bringing her back up. This also pertains to individuals that are on a GLP. If you've been taking a little shoddy shot and you have been not eating a lot, what happens when you get off of that and you don't reverse diet properly, right? Your metabolism is tanked. You've been under eating for a long period of time. If you haven't been resistance training, that affects it too. And so then you just go back to your normal eating habits and you're even more hungry because you don't have something blunting that hunger. And that's where you gain all the weight back. So in this day and age, majority of people are taking GLPs at this point. So, I'm not on here to bash it, but I'm saying if you are planning on getting off of it at some point, because it shouldn't be something that we're staying on forever, we should be reverse dieting off of that GLP so we can maintain the weight loss that you have received, but do it in a healthy way. So if you're listening to this, you're on a GLP, you're thinking about it. If anyone needs a coach, it's you or you need to become educated on metabolic health and reverse dieting. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. I'm always ready for like Drew's like left hand turns. I'm like, okay, I'm sat. I'm
You're
ready.
welcome.
Okay. So we talked a lot about food, right? And we touched a little bit on cardio. Again, adjusting your cardio is going to look different for people, but thinking about when we're in a reverse diet, yes, it is going to be, bringing your food up. But if we're doing a lot of cardio, it might also be bringing your cardio down. Maybe not completely. Maybe for some people, we completely take it out. I have a client who she absolutely hates cardio. We finished her deficit. She only did 20 minutes of cardio. She did like one 20-minute session and like a dance class. Like that's what she did for her cardio. So, when we started reversing, she was feeling pretty good with food. We pulled out that cardio session. She wasn't really doing a lot, like we could continue to do that, but she hates it with every ounce of her core. So we decided to, just have that more in a fun way of just like dancing, doing her steps, etc. When we're talking about cardio, it is going to depend on like preferences. Do you like doing cardio? Why are we doing cardio? Were we only doing cardio, to get us into a deficit? Are we doing it for, cardiovascular health and endurance? Do you move a lot, throughout the rest of your day? Maybe having some cardio in, even if you don't love it, maybe it's good for your, overall health. And like, what are your, future goals? Because I do have, some people who we go through a deficit and then afterwards they're like, okay, I'm going to start, training for a high rocks or I'm going to start training for a half marathon. I'm not going to take out their cardio. I'm going to get them fed, and we're going to slowly shift to like, okay, maybe even increasing their cardio after that. So really depends on your goals, where you're at. I would say for most people, like we do strategically bring it down. Like, 90% of the time we're going to take it down because nobody wants to be doing, 3, 4 sessions of cardio a week. Usually that's not realistic all the time. So gonna slowly bring that down. I feel like it kind of depends on what we have going on that week in their check-ins, but sometimes I might drop a little bit of cardio and give them a little bit of an increase. Some weeks I might drop a whole cardio session. Some weeks I might leave it, so it really just depends, but most of the time we are gonna, bring that cardio down and just get it to a more manageable spot of like, okay, just like 2 20-minute sessions, or maybe we take it out completely. We just have a step goal and like workouts. Really
Yeah.
depends on goals.
I think it's pretty rare that I am, cutting it completely right
Mhm.
from the get go, especially if it's high. But there have been like, I had a client who, she was doing like I think she was doing like 4 to 5 sessions a week, and her body was stressed. And that's another thing I literally post about this day. It's like, it's actually just learning like when is a body too stressed and we need to pull off, and when can we add more stress onto the body. Like that's literally all a fat loss phase is just like balancing stressors on the human body. So like when I was in a deficit, I was no longer working with a coach when I did my reverse. And so I took it into my own hands and I said, I'm just pulling all 5 sessions of my cardio at once, took all five
Damn,
out.
girl.
I know. And I lost weight. So you can tell that my body was very stressed. And so I think it just like, but I knew, like I could feel it in my body that my body was way too stressed. Like I didn't need to be doing that. Biofeedback, I think, which we talked about at the beginning, like it was just really, really rough. And so I think it just depends on the individual. But like Alina said, most of the time it's like, it's based off of your goal and what you enjoy.
Getting into our next section, how do we know when the reverse is done? So again, coming back to number one, what are your goals? Are we just trying to like get back to maintenance? Are we trying to push ourselves into a build? Obviously, if you see that scale starting to like come up and like trend up, we probably overshot your maintenance there, right? So maybe need to pull back a little bit if you're, pushing yourself into a build phase. Beautiful. But I would say like we want to see like more of a stable body weight. We don't want to see like a big uphill trend if you're just focusing on like getting back to maintenance, right? And maintaining your progress that you made from the deficit. We want to make sure you're feeling really good in the gym. We have strong gym performance. Recovery is in a really good spot. Hunger is manageable. You're like, okay, cool. I'm like happy with the amount of food that I'm at. Like I could be good here. You have, some food flexibility. You can fit in, a cookie after dinner. You feel happy there. And yeah, just overall, like you're at a sustainable intake and you're just biofeedback is good. We have green lights on everything. And you're just kind of like happy with where your food is at.
Yep. So again, we got down to, maybe a physique we feel great about, weight, maybe not. And then we slowly make those incremental changes all the way up until maintenance, like Alina said. So we're doing that reverse every couple weeks. Maybe it's 4 weeks, maybe it's 2 weeks, maybe it's 6 weeks, whatever. And then once your body weight is stable, if we are trending upwards, then that again we overshoot it. But I will say, overshoot it, is that the word? Overshot.
Overshot it. Yeah.
But I will say too, we have to understand that food holds weight. Your glycogen stores are going to be, full after having more carbohydrates. So just because the number on the scale goes up doesn't necessarily mean it's body fat. And I think that's important to remember too. And I'll use myself as an example. Like this past week, I had a very big increase to my food. There was lots of other factors going on. Like I added in creatine, I was ovulating, et cetera. And my weight went up like 5 pounds. And I was like, that's really abnormal for me. Like I rarely see even like a 1 pound difference. And I was like, well, shit. And then after a few days, it came back down. And my coach was like, your glutes are full or your shoulders. And I was like, tell me one more time. It's the carbs. But, like, sometimes it can be scary when you first make that initial bump and, like, carbs hold on to water and you might see the number on the scale go up. So that's why we give it time and we don't make changes every single week. We need our weight to stabilize a little bit.
Yeah. And honestly, this is my favorite time, like, after a deficit, after you've been dieting for a long time, maybe you haven't been through this, so you don't know what we're talking about quite yet, but a lot of times, like, you come out of your deficit, if you pushed really hard, like, you might be feeling a little bit depleted overall, like, gym sessions aren't feeling good, might be feeling a little flat, especially in the booty area, and then we start, our reverse, we get more carbs, we get more water, all of the things, and we're like, "Oh, wait, like, my delts are looking good. Like I got a little pump. I got a little like booty pump. I got whatever it is, and your lifts are starting to feel good. You're hitting PRs and like focus on those things too. Those are the things that I tell my girls to focus on during that reverse is like, how do you feel? How is your energy? Like, what do your pictures look like? Because scale might be up, 3, 5 pounds, but what do your pictures look like? Do you look fuller? Do you look healthier? Do you look better? And ask yourself those questions too, because like it's normal to see, like, we're not going to keep our absolute low in our deficit in our reverse. Like it's very abnormal to see that, because again, like we have more food, we have more carbs, we have more water that we're holding on to, all of these things we're not doing as much. So we might see that scale come up a little bit, but like if it's just 3 to 5 pounds, I feel like that's a pretty successful reverse diet in my opinion.
Okay, so biggest mistakes after a fat loss phase. I think one that we talked about is like, not reversing at all. Maybe you're staying in a deficit for too long because you're scared to eat more. I think that's really, really common. But we want to make sure that we get that metabolism in a good spot and we're not staying downregulated. Panicking over fluctuations, like we already talked about, we're going to be eating more food, carbs, salt, and water. So just because we see a fluctuation or an increase on the scale, look at your weekly averages. That can be really helpful too. And then last one I'll say, and then I'll let Elena go, is just jumping straight into like, I'm done with this deficit, going into cheat mode, like, fuck that. Now I'm eating whatever I want. And then it, is even worse because you gain it back. And that's one thing that's important too. Like with my clients, I can start to like acknowledge, okay, are we getting some diet fatigue? Right. And we would rather like reverse out before we hit the hardcore diet fatigue because then you're just like, F it. I'm so done with this. But the reverse is so hard. Like right now, like yesterday, I am reversing. I'm so hungry. I told Zach, I was like, I'm gonna go to bed at 7 p.m. just so I can like, because I can't deal with hunger for another fucking hour. Like I'm so hungry in my reverse. And so I
Yeah.
think that like if you get to the point where your diet fatigue is so much, then it's hard to stay consistent in your reverse because you're just already like, I'm over it. I'm so done. Bring me up to maintenance.
Yeah. And this kind of goes with that mistake too of just like removing all of your structure. Like just because we're not dieting anymore doesn't mean that a reverse diet's not important. It's so important. If you guys like haven't realized that by this point, please re-listen to this episode. Listen to Reverse Dieting 101. But yeah, we still need to have structure. We still need to be strategic, even though we're not dieting, right? Um, Another mistake, assuming all of your cardio has to disappear. We can still keep some cardio in. Again, coming into like other health benefits of cardio. It's not just going to like cause us to burn more calories. It's also going to, help improve our cardiovascular health, right? So cardio doesn't have to completely disappear. If you want it to, okay, but doesn't have to. Starting another fat loss too soon. This is a huge mistake because a lot of times I see clients, and I have to tell my clients sometimes too, I'm like, you're not ready for another deficit. Like, we literally just finished reversing. Like, you're not ready for another deficit. We have to chill at maintenance for a little bit. Like, we have to make sure that we're upregulating your metabolism and that we're in a really good spot before we start to go in that deficit again because chances are if you start it too soon, you're going to get 4 weeks in and you're going to say, fuck it. I don't want to do this. Your body's going to be harder to respond and you're not going to get anywhere. And then we're going to have to restart, So trust your coach. Take some time outside of your deficit. I know like there's like the double deficit method out there too on Instagram. I don't know if you see that a lot, Drew, but I see that a lot on my page. And I am like fully on top of that, but like take your time in between those deficits. We don't need to just like spend 4 weeks reversing, 2 weeks at maintenance, and then back in a deficit. If you just dieted for 6 months, you need
Yeah.
6 months out of your deficit, in my opinion, if you can, or, pretty close to it. Last mistake, focusing only on the scale instead of recovery, performance, and sustainability. So I know I talked about that a lot before. I'm just kind of like shifting that mindset. It's not easy because you just went in a deficit of like staring at the scale for so long. But now, like, again, it's nice to have a coach or somebody to remind you, like, okay, shift those wins. What are we focusing on now? It's not so much the scale. Yes, we want to keep that in our line of sight to help with making adjustments, but that's not where our progress is based anymore. So keeping that in mind too. Last reminder, guys, the fat loss phase is not the finish line. We have to get through that reverse diet afterwards. We have to have a strategic exit plan from your deficit. So keep that in mind. Love you guys. Thanks for listening. And thank you for listening to freaking 30 episodes. That's actually insane that we've been
It's
doing this
so
for 30
crazy.
episodes.
Who would have thought, man?
I
Who would have
know. Who
thought?
would think it?
Can you guys, every episode we wrap up and we're like, leave us a review, share it. No, like we're actually being serious. Can you like
Please.
share this like 30 episodes? We sit down and yap and edit this mother fricker and we have to cut all the weird shenanigans I say. Like, so please share it with a friend. Let us be, come back for episode 31, 32, 33. Keep
Yeah.
listening. We love you
Yeah.
guys. That's my take.
Yeah, no, we're serious. Please, like, post it on your story, like, share our page, talk about us with friends. Like, the biggest thing I feel like is word of mouth for us. And if we go back to like meeting the host episode, I'm pretty sure we talked about this, but like, we're doing this podcast because this is the podcast that we wanted when we first started our health and fitness journeys. So we are literally taking like both of our 10 years, that we've been in this industry and we're sharing it with you guys. We're sharing all of the secrets, and like this is like we want to help you, you know, and we also just have fun because we love each other and we like to yap
Yeah.
with one another. But
Sure.
yeah, please share us, leave us a comment, subscribe to the channels, leave us a review.
Not if it's bad though.
Stay strong, stay sane. See you next Tuesday.